Hello, welcome to HITC Sport. Alright, let's take a look at every Premier League club. Look at their worst ever manager, but also see what their best result was. And yeah, some of these managerial stints were absolutely pig bollocks. Oh yeah, Twitter and Instagram is there. Let's crack on with it. Arsenal, Bruce Rake, 1-0 versus Man United. Bruce Rake only spent the 95-96 season in the Highbury, fell out with Ian Wright and finished 5th. Not great. Still though, he did oversee a 1-0 win over Man United thanks to an early Dennis Bergkamp strike. So, I mean, I guess there is that. Remy Gard, 1-0 win versus Crystal Palace. Remy Gard at 23 games at Aston Villa. Won 3 games. So I don't really have much to choose from. So I don't know, let's go for January 2016. A Wayne Hennessy own goal gave Villa all 3 points at home to Crystal Palace. Yeah, and it was all just downhill from there. Bournemouth, Jimmy Quinn, 1-0 win versus Accrington Stanley. Okay, Jimmy Quinn only lasted a few months at Bournemouth in 2008. So I don't know. Gee, when you're failing in League 2, Christ above. They beat Accrington Stanley 1-0 at home, so yeah, let's go with that. But Jesus Christ. Brighton, Sami Hyypiä, 2-0 win versus Leeds. Remember when Sami Hyypiä was supposed to be the next big thing in management? Yeah, 1 win in his final 18 games as Brighton boss. Put a nail in that coffin very quickly. He was there for 6 months. He won 3 games in the championship. Absolutely horrific. I'll go for the 3rd game of the season though. Goals from João Teixeira and Kazenga Lualua, giving them a 2-0 win at Ellen Road. But Jesus Christ, false dawn much? Burnley, Brian Laws, 4-2 win versus Spurs. Brian Laws was appointed in January 2010 and tasked with the job of keeping Burnley in the top flight. You might as well have put the dinner lady in charge. Such was his lack of impact. It's like trying to impregnate someone with a goddamn spoon. For Christ's sake, in one game, the lad had Burnley 5-0 down at half time. At home! I guess Burnley bowed out in style, coming back from 2-0 down to batter Spurs 4-2 with Turf Moor on the final day of the season. Just a shame it mattered absolutely nothing. They were already relegated. Chelsea, Andrés Villas-Boas, 2-1 win versus Man City. Andrés Villas-Boas was supposed to be the next Mourinho at Chelsea, so he's going in here purely for being such a massive letdown. Still, the Blues did beat Man City 2-1 at home, with goals from Raul Meireles and Frank Lampard proving the difference after Mario Balotelli's opener. Crystal Palace, Frank de Boer, 2-1 win versus Ipswich. It just seems a bit unfair to stick the knife in a Frank de Boer. He was only there for 4 goddamn games, sacked after 4 games into a 3-year contract. What an absolute joke. Yeah, Palace didn't score a single goal, but it was 4 games. Anyway, I guess I'm just gonna have to go with the League Cup tie. A 2-1 home win over Ipswich in August 2017. Thanks to a double from James McCarthy, but seriously, 4 games and you sack him? Everton, Sam Allardyce 4-0 versus West Ham. Okay, Sam Allardyce might not have been the worst Everton manager, but he was definitely the most unpopular. This is a man who'd already been booted out of the England job, covered in disgrace. The likes of Everton, an ambitious club with money, did not want a long ball merchant with relegation battles littering his CV, taking charge of their goddamn club. Still, yeah, he got off to a good start. A Wayne Rooney hat-trick steering Everton to a 4-0 win over West Ham in November 2017. Leicester City, Ian Holloway 4-1 win versus West Brom. Ian Holloway is a lovable character, but at Leicester, the fans were getting ready to bury him alive. He was appointed in February 2008 and did nothing but conspire to get Leicester relegated to League 1. If you told me that this man would soon find himself in the Premier League while Leicester would go on to win the damn thing, just no! Don't get me wrong, this man's time at Leicester was a disaster, but still, I'll go for this result. A 4-1 away win at West Brom. A team who would go on to win the goddamn division back in March 2008. Liverpool, Roy Hodgson, 2-0 win versus Chelsea. Good lord, the Roy Hodgson era was an absolute disaster at Anfield. This was the lad who thought it appropriate to bring the likes of Christian Poulsen and Paul Konchesky to Anfield, despite them possessing all the footballing ability of a dead pigeon. Hodgson agreed to pay £100,000 a week to Joe Cole, who by 2010 had love handles bigger than my future. And so by October, Liverpool were circling the relegation zone, getting slapped down by a side consisting of Marlon Harewood and the poster boy for diabetes that is Gary Taylor-Fletcher. But still, amidst the interminable dross that was Hodgson's time at Anfield, he still found a way to beat the champions of England 2-0 at home in November. With Fernando Torres finally waking up from his 4-month coma to bang in only his 3rd and 4th goals of the season, in what was, let's be honest, is audition tape for Stamford Bridge. Man City, Stuart Pearce, 3-1 win versus Man United. I'm gonna go for Stuart Pearce, alright? Purely because the football played under that man was enough to make City fans want to rip out their own eyeballs and feed them to their cat. It's almost as if he never fully got to the grasps of, you know, trying to put the ball in the back of the net. That City team went 6 months without scoring at home. Their top scorer was Joey Barton, and their manager's primary tactic, other than, you know, just looking like a man who's freezer probably consisted of severed heads, was to chuck the goddamn goalie up front. Still though, Pearce did manage to beat Man United 3-1 at home in January 2006, with goals from Trevor Sinclair, Darius Vassell and Robbie Fowler seeing them off, while Cristiano Ronaldo saw red for a tackle which could have snapped Andy Cole's leg in two. Man United, David Moyes, 1-0 win versus Arsenal. Yeah, David Moyes was a walking disaster at Old Trafford. Honestly, 15 defeats in a season by April, just how? They were the champions of England. I know he banned ketchup from the canteen, but did he also spike the squad's pre-match meals with 3 pounds of ket or some kind of horse tranquilizer? Because honestly, what happened? Still though, they did still manage to beat Arsenal 1-0 at Old Trafford, with Robin van Persie bagging the only goal against his former employers and celebrating wildly because I guess he's just a hateful human being. Newcastle, John Carver, 2-0 win versus West Ham. Bad managers and Newcastle. It's like Katie Price and ex-husbands. Believe me, I have many to choose from. But John Carver stands tall above the rest. I mean, his reign was laughably bad. When he took over from Alan Pardew in December, Newcastle were 9th and 10 points above the drop zone. And then 3 wins from his last 19 games. The club nearly went down. Carver showed signs of clear delusion, like championing himself as the best manager in the league, accusing his own defenders of getting sent off on purpose, and saying he wished he had a team of Jack Colbacks. 11 Jack Colbacks? That's like wishing for 11 STDs. But his best result, it was one that he had to win if he ever wanted to show his face in Newcastle again for the rest of his life. Last game of the season, Carver done his very best to turn what was once a comfortable season into a relegation dogfight. But yeah, Newcastle won a tense final game of the season at home to West Ham 2-0, thanks to goals from Moussa Sissoko, a man who would then spend the next 12 months playing like a sack of dead onions, and Jonas Gutierrez, a lad who be then dumped by the club over the goddamn phone. Norwich City, Brian Gunn, 2-0 win versus Cardiff. Yes, I get that Brian Gunn is a popular figure at Norwich, but let's just not ignore that his managerial career was one big plate of disaster. He took over in January 2009, got the Canaries relegated to League One, and stuck around long enough to see them lose their first game of the third division, 7-1 at home to Colchester. Now, I'm not one for overreactions, but that man should have been burnt at the stake for that alone. Finding his best result in those torturous 6 months is like trying to dig out a fond memory of your ex-girlfriend who stole your kidney and cut your hair in your sleep. I don't know. A 2-0 home win over Cardiff in March 2009. I guess that wasn't bad. Sheffield United, David Weir, 2-1 win versus Notts County. David Weir lasted just 13 games as Sheffield United boss back in 2013, so I don't really have much to choose from. I'll go for his first game. A 2-1 home win over Notts County in League One with a certain Harry Maguire scoring the winner. Southampton, Mauricio Pellegrino, 4-1 win versus Everton. Let's not forget that Mauricio Pellegrino was one big pile of horse manure when he took charge of Southampton for the 17-18 season. Literally, he was god-awful and was only steering the club one way, to the championship and beyond. But hey, there was that inexplicable 4-1 win over Everton in November 2017, when, to be honest, the Toffees were in free fall. Tottenham, Juande Ramos, 2-1 win versus Chelsea. Juande Ramos was supposed to be the man who took Tottenham to the next level. He was the original Mauricio Pochettino when he replaced Martin Jol in October 2007. On one hand, yeah, this is the man who won this club their only piece of silverware in the last 20 years. On the other, that's all he did. Yes, the 2-1 win over Chelsea in the Carling Cup final was superb, with Jonathan Woodgate heading the winner after Dimitar Berbatov's penalty cancelled out Didier Drogba's opener. But that was literally all Ramos did. They finished the season playing like a pack of hungover badgers. 3 wins from 12, and followed that up with the worst start to a Premier League season ever. Watford, Walter Mazzarri, 2-1 win versus Arsenal. 12 wins, 7 draws, 22 defeats, and an overall win percentage of 29%. No, Walter Mazzarri did not have a good record as Watford boss. The 16-17 season was fairly poor. The club finished 17th. This Alec Baldwin lookalike couldn't even speak the language. How the hell was he supposed to communicate with Troy Deeney? Having said that, there were some good results, like a dazzling 4-2 comeback win at West Ham, the 3-1 home win over Man United. But no, I'm going to go for January 2017, when early goals from Yunus Kabul and Troy Deeney sent the Hornets on their way to yet another 2-1 win at the Emirates. West Ham, Avram Grant, 4-0 win versus Man United. I can only assume the West Ham owners had drunk 3 litres of Calpol when they appointed Avram Grant in June 2010. Clearly the chemicals in the brain had been affected when they decided to entrust the fate of this club with the human block of cheese that had just finished bottom of the league with Portsmouth. I mean, what did they think was going to happen? But hey, I mean, West Ham did bag a spot in the League Cup semi-final when he pulled off that shock 4-0 win over Man United in November 2010. This was a weird game. The league leaders, right, were lining out with Obertan, Fabio, and some lad pulled off the street, while there were goal-scoring braces over Carlton Cole and, God help us all, Jonathan Spector. His first ever goals in English football. It's just a weird night. Wolves, Terry Connor, 2-2 draw versus Newcastle. Oh, this is just embarrassing. The only manager in this entire list where I can't even find a goddamn win. That's how you know your tenure was just one big bag of shame. Terry Connor was handed the reins of power in February 2012 and told to keep Wolves up. Considering this man's career up until this point, it consisted of nothing more than just putting out training cones and tucking Mick McCarthy in at night. He was in far over his head. His record was 4 draws and 9 defeats, 0 wins. Woeful. I'll go for his first game in February 2012. Goals from Matt Jarvis and Kevin Doyle rescued a point for Wolves at high-flying Newcastle, who, to be fair, would somehow go on to finish 5th that season. Anyway, that's the end of it, lads. Let me know. Have I got any of these wrong? Have I been unfair on some of these managers? Have I overseen some crazy results? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I'll talk to you in a while.